How's it going, everybody? Welcome to We Do Tech Extra, and also to my look at the MSI Z790 Carbon Wi-Fi motherboard. So we're going to do a quick little unboxing of this board, see how it is, but there won't be any benchmarks, unfortunately, for this video. So it's just going to be a quick little unboxing. Now, of course, it is the Wi-Fi edition, so you do get all of your Wi-Fi antennas and everything inside here. And then, of course, underneath the board, you do get your two SATA ports, your RGB extension cables. You do have an additional RGB extension cable. You have your M.2 screws here for your quick release, and then of course some manual quick startup guide, some stickers with additional screw in there. Your European regulatory notice, I've not seen that yet, and of course your USB for your BIOS update. Alright, so as for pricing for this board, of course, it is more of a higher end board, so it's not going to be cheap. It is retailing for around $470, or for here in South Africa, it's around or just below 12,000 Rand. But it is a high-end board, so you are getting all of the bells and whistles and all of the nice things. But before that, I want to hear from you guys. Are you actually planning to upgrade to the new Z790 platform and a 13th generation Intel system? Or are you planning to move to somewhere else, or you're not planning to upgrade at all for this generation? Let me know down in the comments below, because I'm pretty curious to hear what everybody's plan is, especially with prices being quite high also. So yeah, let me know down in the comments below. Now, of course, with this being a Z790 board, it does feature the LGA 1700 socket, which you can use both for the 12th generation and the new 13th generation CPUs. We'll see what's going to happen for the generation after that, probably going to be entirely new socket, but you do have the option of using your 12th generation CPUs on this board as well. But with the performance increase of the new 13th generation, I do believe that it's quite worth that. But of course, you can also go the other route, where if you do have the Z690 Carbon Wi-Fi, you can use your 13th generation CPU on that board as well. But if the board is a bit too much for you, you do also have the option of going for the Tomahawk Z790 board, which is around $300, so that's a bit cheaper, and you are still getting plenty, a lot of the features, but it's going to be like a DDR4 and a more PCI Express 4 instead of 5, so you don't need to have all of those features. It's just going to depend up to your future proofing on what you currently need for your use case, but you do have that option as well. Then as for our VRMs, you do have a pretty beefy setup here with a 19 plus 1 plus 1 105 amp power stage. So that is a pretty beefy setup. Now also you do have a nice proper set of cooling going on here with a heat pipe in between the two heat spreaders as well for some additional cooling. So if you wanted to overclock, that's not going to be a problem. Even if you want to go for the i9 3900K, you can. Just make sure that you have enough cooling, because I've one in my personal system and that thing runs quite hot. So do make sure, but I believe that the VRM's gonna be totally fine for that. But now if you don't want to overclock, you do also have the option of going for the B760 boards from MSI as well, which does reduce some of the features. PCI Express 5 is totally out and you're not able to overclock, but I believe there was a MSI motherboard, I can't exactly remember which one, it was maybe the Tomahawk or something, that you actually had the option of overvolting or over adjusting your power settings for your CPU to actually overclock the non-K version. So that was pretty interesting, but I believe they didn't sell the board or they retracted that. I'm not exactly too sure about that, but they did actually have a board like that. So you do have the option of going that route as well and saving some cash there. But if you want to overclock, then this is the board definitely to take a look at. Now then, moving on to memory, you do have 4 dual channel DDR5 DIMM slots here, which does have a max capacity of 128 gigs and speeds up to 7,800 megahertz. You can overclock that further if you wanted to, but this is what the board supports with an XMP overclock. Like I mentioned before, you don't have a DDR4 board option for this board, but you do have one for the Tomahawk, so that is an option if you want to go DDR4 instead of DDR5. And save a bit of cash there, but if you're spending that much already on the board, you want the best performance out, so DDR5 is going to be the best option for that. Now moving on towards our PCI Express slots, you do have a 3 down here, with the top one being a PCI Express Gen 5, so you do have the full double Gen 4 speeds there, which isn't really needed currently. There's no GPU that actually needs that bandwidth yet, we'll see, but you do have the option for future proofing, of course. Now the top slot does also feature their armor design, which does support your heavier GPUs, and as we have seen, the new RTX 4000 series is pretty beefy. Now underneath that you do have a single PCI Express Gen 3 1x slot, and then at the bottom you do have a 4x Gen 4 slot as well, so you do have some additional add-on expansion cards there. And for storage, it's definitely not going to be a problem, because you do have a 5 M.2 slots, with 4 of them being a Gen 4 and then one of them being a Gen 5 as well. So that is where you're paying that much more for this board, having the PCI Express Gen 5 both for your top slot and then also for your M.2 slot. So you are future-proofing quite a bit here. Now there isn't really any PCI Express Gen 5 M.2s out yet for the consumer really, but there will be coming out later, so it's just up to you if you do need that. You need that crazy speeds going over 13 gigabytes per second. I think majority of us don't really need that, and you're definitely going to pay for that even more than this board on its own. So yeah, you'll have to decide. And also all of them do feature MSI's keyless locking mechanism, which is always nice. We don't have to fiddle around with a tiny screw, so that's really nice over there. And then lastly, you do also have 6 SATA 3 ports with a 90-degree angle here on the side for some additional storage. But now the board unfortunately does have one thing that I'm a bit disappointed on, and that is where there's no quick release button for our top PCI Express slot. So a lot of the newer boards do actually come out with a button which you can press that actually unlocks your GPU. Now that's not a big problem really. I won't not buy this board because of that, but the competition does actually have that in this price range, and it would have been nice to actually have that as well, especially with you wanting to swap out your GPU. In your case, trying to fiddle around and getting your finger squeezed in between there is a bit of a problem sometimes, so that would have been actually nice to have, but definitely not a deal breaker. But if you want to see more motherboard videos, unboxings, and also reviews, and just a bunch of other videos, definitely subscribe to this channel, and then also the main channel linked below as well for plenty more videos to come, hardware-wise, peripherals-wise, gaming in general, so definitely subscribe to the channels. Then moving on towards our I/O, for you at the back you do of course have an integrated I/O cover with a clear CMOS button, your flash BIOS button, and then also your smart button, which I haven't seen anybody else implement. You do have 2 USB 3.2 Gen 1 type A ports, your HDMI I believe 2.1 port, 6 USB 3.2 Gen 2 10 gigabits per second type A ports, then also a USB 3.2 Gen 2 type C port, all of them being a 10 gigabits per second, your USB 3.2 Gen 2 X to 20 gigabits per second type C port, your 2.5 gigabits per second Ethernet port, your Wi-Fi 6E and a Bluetooth 5 connectivity here, and also all of your audio connections. So a decent set of I/O there. Maybe additional type C would have been handy, but 2 and plenty USBs is enough around there. Now as for your on-board connections, you do have a plenty here. You do have your dual 8-pin CPU power, you do have your, of course, your 24-pin motherboard power, your Q code here, your postcode LEDs as well. You do have 7 fan headers all around the board, and down here's another one there, and none around there, but you do have a plenty for that. You do also have 3 RGB headers, 2 of them being a 5 volt and 1 of them being a 12 volt. You do also have an LED switch down here, so if you want to turn off all of your LEDs RGB on the board, you do have a dedicated switch for that. You have a couple of thermal headers around the board, where you also have 2 USB 2.0 headers, and then also your USB 3.2 Gen 2 type C header, and then also your USB 3.2 Gen 2 type A header here on the side as well in 90 degree. And then lastly, you do also have your Thunderbolt header or USB 4 for additional add-on cards if you want to get that speed. Unfortunately, we don't have that dedicated on the I/O yet. Hopefully for the next generation we will see that, but you do have that option if you needed that extra crazy speed out. Alright, so that's pretty much it for my quick look at the MSI MPG Carbon Wi-Fi Z790 board. Again, it's a bit pricey, but it is a high-end board for your higher-end CPUs, the 13700K or the 13900K. So if you want to go that route, then the Carbon is definitely an option for you. Again, if you want to overclock. If not, then maybe go for the B760 boards instead. You must have plenty of those as well. Even though I haven't reviewed one or taken a look at one yet, you do have that option. But again, I have done reviews on the 3900K and the 13700K, and I believe the 13600K as well. So you can go check those videos out if you wanted to. But anyway, that's pretty much it. A big shout out to MSI South Africa for sending the board over for this video. If you guys want to get it for yourself, I will leave links in the video description. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll check all of you next time. Cheers, guys.